Welcome back to the Honest Art Podcast. I am your host, Jodie King, and today's episode is so exciting because one of the things I get asked most often by artists really around the world is, how can I get gallery representation? What are galleries looking for? And so that's what we are going to talk about, because it can feel so elusive. You know, for many artists, that is the pinnacle, is to get that gallery representation. And if that is you, if you feel like getting to the gallery and having that validation is the thing that you most want, this is going to be the episode for you. Now, the thing is about getting gallery representation, and I know this from my personal experience, is it, like I said, it feels so elusive. And I just remember years ago, I thought, like, is there some secret handshake here that nobody is telling the artists about, but all of the galleries know about it? And I wanted to know so much what those things were. So that is what this podcast is about today. We are going to peel back the curtain, and I'm going to share with you all of the things that galleries are looking for in an artist and in the artist's work. So if you are ready, let's get messy. So let's jump right into it. Here's the thing, is that galleries have bills to pay. And the way they pay their bills is off of selling the artist's work. So when we keep that overarching idea in mind, I think it's really helpful. And what they are looking for because of this is they are looking for a true professional. They are not looking for a hobbyist. Now, I learned this the hard way. I was selling my work pretty consistently. Like, I was painting maybe one painting a month, and I was selling everything that I was painting, but I wasn't painting that often. I mean, you know, like, I would get a commission for a pet portrait, or I would get a commission for something else, but like, my body of work wasn't really growing that much. And that's one of the things that a gallery is looking for. So they are looking for evidence that you're a professional and not a hobbyist. And one of the things that they look at is they are looking for a consistent body of work and a cohesive body of work. And you might ask yourself, well, how are they going to know that? Well, they can tell because within the email, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how to submit, but within the email, you know, you put a link to either your website, to Instagram, to your portfolio. And if they see, let's talk about consistent first. Okay. So when I say a consistent and a cohesive body of work, you know, when I was first starting out, and maybe you relate to this too, when I was first starting out, I was trying like a lot of different things. You know, one day I would want to do, portraiture. Another day I wanted to paint a pig. Another day I wanted to paint abstract, but I wasn't really good at any of them. So there wasn't a lot of consistency. And because I was still just trying to find my way, it wasn't very cohesive. And a gallery is going to be able to tell that. As much as I wanted to fake them out and pretend that I was a professional and not a hobbyist, a gallery will be able to tell. Now, the other thing that they are looking for is they are looking for like a body of work. Okay. So for me, I had this new look that I was doing, and it was incredibly successful. But when I say incredibly successful, like, I had painted 5 and I had sold 5. Well, a gallery is wanting like 25, right? So like 25 photos of your very best work. And the reason is let's say, like, okay, here's what happened. I'll just do this. We'll talk about this. So I applied to a gallery in Santa Fe, New Mexico, based on this new body of work that I was doing, which was actually quite a departure from what I had done in the past. And I was using mixed media. I was using resin. I was writing stories on the paintings, and like And before that, I was painting a pig. So you get the idea, right? Like it was going really well, but it was definitely a new body of work. So when I applied to the gallery, I sent the only photos that I had of that work, and it just wasn't big enough. And the gallery owner replied to me, and he said, I think your work is really interesting, but it looks to me like you are a hobbyist and not a professional, because I don't see a large body of work. Okay, so let me just repeat this. They are looking for consistency, they are looking for cohesiveness, and they are looking for that like consistent supply. Because if they take you on and they give you that valuable wall space in their gallery, and they sell one of your pieces, but you are not able to replenish that supply, then you're hurting their ability to make money. So that's what they're looking for, that consistent, cohesive body of work where there is supply. Okay, the next way that they can tell if you are a hobbyist versus a professional is in your presentation. So this is something that if you haven't listened to my podcast on how to wire and hang a painting, please go and look at that, because that's one of the ways that they can tell if you're a hobbyist or a professional. They want to see that when you present that painting to them, that there's D-rings on the back, that there's that wire, that, like they're not looking for any sawtooth hooks, and sometimes artists don't even wire the paintings. They just present the paintings. It's like that doesn't work either. So it's in the presentation. Another way they can tell in the presentation is like, is it finished? Are the edges painted? Is it like, are they rough, or did the artist really take the time to make it cohesive around the edges? A lot of times artists will just paint the front of the painting, and then even if it's thin, they'll just leave the edges white. And so the gallery is wanting to see that it is a completion, that it is very professional looking, and they can hang it on their wall as is, right? That they don't have to go back and frame it just for the painting to look complete. So this leads me to another thought, and that is that oftentimes when we are hobbyists, and we're not quite sure where this is going, we're wanting to save money, right? We're wanting to save money. Well, we're always wanting to save money. Even as a professional, I'm wanting to save money. But we're wanting to save money on those canvases because we're like, what are we going to do with them? So we don't invest in some of the nicer, thicker canvases. We buy those thinner canvases that you can get basically anywhere, like, you can get them at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, or if you're in the U.S., but, those thinner canvases. But the problem is that that's not, when you present it, remember this is presentation, when you present it, it doesn't present very well. So we're trying to save money with those thinner canvases, but the gallery is looking for just a sturdier presentation. So that means we have to take that money that we were saving, and now we have to invest it in framing. So I always say, if you can afford a better canvas, a thicker canvas, and then finish that canvas out really nicely along the edges, then that's a better way to go. Now, in terms of what those edges or those sides look like, it really depends on what you're painting. Like for me, in my abstract work, every time I'm painting, like a brush stroke as it goes across the canvas, I intentionally try to take that brush stroke all the way around the sides of the canvas. And it's just a really good practice, so that I don't have to go back and like try to make it look like something, and like have to, oh wait, what was that color? And wait, how did I get that? Like I just make it a practice to continue to paint the sides of the painting. But maybe you are an artist who likes to paint, maybe portraiture or representational. And so the background of your painting is going to be just one solid color. Well, take that solid color and bring that all the way around. Now, you may be asking, do I have to do that? The painting's already finished. Can I go back and just add a separate color to the sides? You can certainly do that. It's way better to go back and to just paint something solid on the sides than to leave those sides just bare with the raw canvas showing. But make sure the color that you choose is cohesive with some of the other colors that are within the painting. All right, the next thing that a gallerist is looking for, if they can tell if you're a hobbyist or a professional, is they are wanting artists that can speak about their work with conviction. Okay, so when they ask you about your work, you don't want to say something like, well, I'm not sure if this is any good, or I haven't been painting that long. What do you think? Like, that is not a stance of being very sure and confident about your work. They want to work with somebody that is clear about what they do. They can articulate that. They can tell you what your work is about, like really be very clear about what this is about. And I know that can be maybe one of the hardest things because there is so much self-doubt that we have. And if you've never been able to have gallery representation, it's hard to, muster that up to feel super, super confident. But in a case like this, you got to fake it till you make it, okay? Just like practice in the mirror if you have to. But remember this also in your communications, your email communications with the gallery. Don't say anything like, I'm just starting out. I'm not sure if my work is any good, but I thought I would just check with you just because I think your gallery's cool. That's not the vibe we're going with. We're going with the professional vibe. So you could say something like, I have been painting for a short amount of time, but as a professional artist, my work has been selling consistently over the last several years. Do you see what I'm saying? Both can be true. Maybe you haven't ventured all the way into selling your work, thousands of paintings. But if you can say my work has been selling consistently, and you can say as a professional artist, like really speak that language, then you're going to be much more likely to receive that representation that you're hoping for. Now, in addition to being able to speak confidently about your art, you are going to absolutely need to be connected to the work. Now, this is why we do an art critique once a month in the Honest Art Society, because being able to speak about our work and our connection to it is key. Now, it's not only key to getting gallery representation, it's key to selling any of our work. So this is not the first time. Maybe this is the first time you've heard this from me. Welcome to the Honest Art Podcast, because I talk about this all the time. The artist needs to be connected to the art. So the gallery knows if the artist isn't connected to the work, then they can't, no matter what they do, they cannot connect your work to a collector. And here's an example. So when I first met with a gallery years ago, my work wasn't quite ready for gallery representation, mostly based on the fact that I wasn't very confident. I didn't feel terribly connected to the work. I was really having fun. But as far as like, what does this art mean? What is my contribution as an artist to the world? And that might be like, oh my God, that's too big to look. Okay, well, what is it? What is my contribution to the collector? I have to have a story about what this piece is about for me, so that we can tell a story about what the piece can be like for that collector. And if you've heard any of my other podcasts about trends that are happening in the art world, one of the things that people are saying that collectors are, and this is a non-negotiable, is that they want to know what this piece is about. What is the story? What is the narrative about the piece? So the gallerist is going to ask you, tell me about your work. Tell me what this is about for you. Even if it's in your artist statement, they're going to ask you, tell me about your work. And our tendency And I know this because our tendency is to talk about the process. This is what happens when we do the art critiques. I'll say, hey, Amy, tell me about this piece. Tell me about this, what is this piece about? And our tendency is to say, well, I just was making marks, and then I added some color, and then I wanted to do some other shapes. And that's not the narrative. That's not the story. What you just heard me say was the process. Tell me about what this piece is about for you. And if you're not quite sure what the piece is about for you, that's okay too. Step back for a minute, sit with it. I just did another podcast and I don't know which one it was, sorry. But I was talking about how I had completed a piece like at the beginning of March. And I think it took me a month to really sit with and discern what the piece is about. But I got there, and once I got there, then it was like the piece was so much stronger. So you have to have a clear conviction and connection to the art, and the gallery is going to want to see that. Okay, guys, real quick, while I've got to tell you about something really, really exciting, and that is the Honest Art Society. The Honest Art Society is my membership group where I'm able to finally offer artists all of the things that you've been asking for. So you get monthly training, you get coaching calls, you get monthly art critiques, there are guest speakers, there is studio hour where we'll paint together, and also you get exclusive discounts and offers, and you get to hear about things that happen first. All for only $47 a month. So I hope you will join me in this group with amazing artists as well. So go to the link in the show notes to find out more about the Honest Art Society. All right, another way that a gallery can tell whether you are a hobbyist or you're a professional is in your communication with the gallery. So when you communicate with the gallery, it's important to also have very professional speak. In addition to that, they can tell whether this is like a mass email you're sending to lots and lots of galleries. It's like when you're applying to a job, right? A company can tell if you haven't really done your research on the company. They just know. And that's the same way with a gallery. They can tell through your email communications whether you are really interested in that gallery or you're just like casting your net wide and you'll just take anything. So they can tell by that. The other way that they can tell in your communication is in your links, in the way that you have added your art to the email, basically. So when I say by links, what I mean is you don't want the gallerist to go somewhere else to find your work. They never will. So within the email, you need to have a link that goes straight to your Instagram profile, right? So like, don't just put your handle and then they've got to get off of the email and they've got to go to Instagram, then they've got to type in your profile. It's not going to happen. They're never going to do it. So that link in there needs to go straight to your profile. Also, if you have a website, put the link in there so they can just click that link and they go straight to your website. And maybe you don't have a website. Let me tell you, you don't have to have a website to get gallery representation, but you do have to have a way to show your work. So that's why I often suggest Artwork Archive. Artwork Archive is so great because there is a way to turn an external profile so that it looks like a website, and you can provide that link. So don't let not having a website stop you from applying to galleries. You can do so even without a website. The other thing is you're going to want to include a link to your portfolio. Definitely include that, but ready? You also want to have at least 3 images of your paintings that are visible in the email. Now, you probably won't be able to have that large file size. You might need to make them more of like that medium size or maybe large, because otherwise the gallery won't be able to open the email. But you want to have those images of your paintings in the email because that's how they're going to discern, do I even want to click on the Instagram profile? Do I even want to click on the website, like, do I want to know more about this? If you don't have an image of your art in the email, they're just going to pass you by because they're going to be like, hobbyist, not a professional, and we want to work with professionals. Next thing a gallery is looking for is they want you as an artist to have a clear pricing strategy. Okay, so by that I mean you need to be clear that the price that you are offering let me try that again. Offering your art at that price makes sense. Okay, that you haven't, like, you're not priced way out for the value of the work, and also that you're not priced way low. Okay, so they want to see you've done your homework, you've sold your paintings at these prices, and the work validates the price point where you're at. Now, one thing that often happens is, like this happened for me, I got gallery representation at a gallery, and they saw my work and they thought that my work could sell for more than that, and so they asked if I was okay with them increasing the value or the price of the work. Now, that might seem like, well, no shit, of course you want to raise your prices, but keep in mind, if I raise my prices in one location, I have to raise those prices everywhere. You have to raise them on your website. You have to raise them on social media. You have to raise them for other galleries you're working with, or maybe other stores you're working with. Your prices go up all, like, across the board. So I agreed to do that, and it all worked out great. But a gallery is looking to see that the artist is very clear on their pricing strategy. Okay, this next one, I might get some pushback from this, but studies validate this for sure. And that is, are you active on social media? Now, a gallery won't decide purely based on your social media account, on your number of followers, whether they are going to represent you. It always comes down to the art. Like, your art has to be good. I don't care how professional your email is, or how great your pricing strategy is, or how many followers you have on social media. It always comes down to the art. But social media is playing a larger and larger role in gallery representation. And actually, in 2018, Coca-Cola did a study, and it showed that 80% of people were looking at social media first, Instagram in particular, before they decided if they were going to purchase a product. That was in 2018, folks. That was 7 years ago. So now that number is even more. So if you don't have a presence on Instagram in particular, you are really missing out. So here's what's happening. If you were able to hear the interview that I did with art consultant Amy Sawtelle, she was sharing that she loves getting on Instagram to find new artists. In addition, I follow this gallerist. I think it's in Charleston. I can't remember where, but he's always showing these new artists or the artist's work, and he says all the time, I find my artists from Instagram. So social media does play a role on whether a gallery decides to choose you based on just the simple fact of it can show you, or it can show them, is this artist a hobbyist or a professional, strictly based on your Instagram presence. Now, if you feel like you're not quite sure how to do that, I do have Instagram for Artists course that I did specifically for this, for artists to be able to look professional and sell their work on Instagram. So be sure to check that out. And lastly, what a gallery is looking for is, this is good news for us over here in the Honest Art Podcast, they are looking for honest art. What does that mean? That means that they are looking for things that they haven't seen before. They are looking for your honest voice. Now, I know that might be like, okay, well, that's the hardest one so far. Not really. So I know that when we are just trying to get our legs underneath us as an artist, I know that we look at other artists' work that we love and we try to emulate that. I get it. I did the same thing. But we do have to evolve out of that. And that happens just with consistency. It's just in showing up over and over and over again. If you are painting as a hobbyist, if you're painting once a week or you're painting once a month, it's going to show, because your art is not going to have that strength to it, that uniqueness to it, that honest voice to it, and they are going to be able to tell. So making honest art and creating art that is uniquely yours, a gallery is going to be able to tell. So keep all of that in mind. And I said the last one was last, but this is really important, really, really important. A gallery is wanting to work with an artist that is kind and respectful. And I know that that is like an obvious thing, but I just felt like I had to say it, because sometimes when we're feeling really insecure or a little scared, we can come across as maybe more abrasive or maybe more showy than we need to. And I'm just saying, like, if you can just be kind and respectful and humble, that is going to come through, and a gallery is going to be much more likely to want to work with you. So I hope all those tips were helpful. I hope that you get great gallery representation if that is something you're looking for. And until next time, take good care of yourselves and each other. Peace out. Big announcement around here. I am announcing my final 2 workshops of 2025. One is in Santa Fe, New Mexico in July, and the other is here in Austin, Texas in October. And I know taking a workshop can feel vulnerable, it can feel scary, but it is truly the fastest way to level up your art. Plus, we just have a ball. So whether you are a beginner or you are a seasoned artist, this workshop will transform your art and leave you feeling like such a badass, knowing that you've got the skills to not only make honest art, but fine art. So one word of caution, if you're interested in joining me, and I hope you will, know that every workshop I have offered in the last 5 years has sold out within days. So I would love to paint with you, and if you'd like to learn more, head to the link in the show notes.